So the critical message is that investment from China in the farm sector in Australia is in early days. The institutions that we have in Australia are well established for dealing with this, although the truth of the matter is that most farm sector investments are under the threshold for consideration, for example, by the Foreign Investment Review Board, which commonly is a threshold of about $230 million. And of course, most farm sector investments, and certainly those that have been proposed in Australia thus far from China, are well under that limit. You know, a large one is 50 million or 20 million or something like that. So these proposals commonly don't come before the Foreign Investment Review Board. But if they did involve, for example, a state-owned enterprise investing from China, they would automatically, no matter what their scale, be required to come before the Foreign Investment Review Board. So it's only investments from private corporations in China or from so-called dragonhead corporations in China, private corporations, they might have some links to provincial government or something, that would be free of scrutiny under our foreign investment laws. So, what are the issues? If you consider the advantages of foreign investment that foreign investment in this sector brings in the way of capital and in the way of market links, you might consider that at the same time, if the investor is involved at both the production end of the business and the consumption end of the business, there's an opportunity perhaps for transfer pricing or the shifting of profits out of Australia into the home market across a product line. This is said to be an issue, for example, in the aluminium sector, but the tax authority, of course, has the power to deal with that problem by declaring whatever price it likes to in respect to the taxation of the enterprise that's constituted in this country. So there are ways of dealing with that, but that's one issue that people sometimes worry about. It's actually less of an issue in the farm sector commonly because there are external commodity prices that are thick, well established and well known that can obviate the issue of transfer pricing. But it's an issue that's raised. There's a question of whether state-owned enterprises are involved. That was an issue in respect of the growth of foreign investment from China in the minerals and resource sector. That's less of a problem, again, in the agricultural sector so far. State-owned enterprises are prominent in other parts of the world, but they haven't been prominent so far in the proposals that have come to Australia, although they probably will become more prominent as the scale of investment grows. Over time, it's likely to grow. The diversification of investment in agriculture and across other sectors is likely to grow in Australia as well. But as I said a moment ago, investment from state-owned enterprises is automatically reviewed now under our Foreign Investment Review Board arrangements. The other set of issues, I suppose, have to do with the learning of foreign investments about the institution and other circumstances they face in investing in Australia. That's a very important part of the process. It was when Japanese investment began in Australia. It's going to be an important part of the process in the absorption of Chinese investment. We have a strong institutional framework, a strong policy framework, a strong market-based framework in Australia in which the issues can be dealt with. And it's likely that investors, as they have prominently so far in the resource sector, from China, will learn a lot about dealing in market economies offshore as they seek to develop investment and investment partnerships in Australia. That will be a feature of this business in the years ahead. So we saw it, as I said earlier, with UK, US investments in the early post-war period, with Japanese and Korean investments. We're going to see it in the same way with Chinese investments. China, I should say, is now the largest new global source of foreign direct investment. Australia actually is the largest single destination for Chinese investment abroad, foreign direct investment abroad. And that's commonly been the case with these new investors in East Asia as they go global. It was true of Japan earlier on, Korea and so on. Australia is naturally a prominent and early destination for foreign investment, importantly because of the criticality of the mine sector in Australia to the early phases of growth and industrialisation in these economies, as it has been and it continues to be in China. As I said, Australia not only has robust market institutions within which these investors operate, but it also has this thing, the Foreign Investment Review Board process. Some of the investments in the farm sector will go under the horizon, the radar there, as I said, but others, importantly from state-owned enterprises, will not. And currently there's a Senate inquiry getting underway more broadly to investigate the impact of foreign investment in the farm sector and look at the way in which foreign investment in the farm sector is registered and dealt with in different parts of the country. And it is registered and dealt with differently in different parts of the country, quite apart from the federal policy regime which governs it. This will involve in the farm sector two-way engagement by Australia and other partners, I should say, competitors, including partners across the Tasman and New Zealand, who already have a free trade agreement with China and therefore have a very active interest in farm sector investment in New Zealand, as well as the need to understand the evolution of institutions in China and the way in which Australian partners can play into the Chinese market around the evolution of those interests in China. But what we can say in conclusion is that investments in Australia in the farm sector from China, as investments in the mineral sector, the other parts of the primary sector in Australia, are likely to be a prominent and important interest for Australia, especially over the next 2 to 3 decades, as Chinese industrialisation is likely to continue its fairly rapid pace and likely to generate the interest in these opportunities for investment. So the most important thing for us will be to maintain an open and firm strategy on foreign investment that sees the gains from foreign investment in the primary sector, including in the farm sector, continue to be reaped by these through these partnerships with our new partners in China and elsewhere in East Asia. Thanks very much.